Hi, everybody, and welcome to Proline, coming to you direct from Las Vegas. Ours is the longest-running sports handicapping show in America. I'm Dave Cokin, joined by Jim Feist. We're going to take a look at Week 2 of the NFL, including Patriots, Saints, Falcons, Packers, and along with that, we'll have some Vegas sports betting tips to get you ready for what should be a winning weekend. First, Jim, 2-0 with your NFL high roller releases on Sunday. On the same game, you had the Lions plus the points against the Cardinals, and the Lions and Cardinals to go over the total.
That's right. More of the same this weekend, including another high roller personal best in the NFL. If you want to get 7 days of my service on the house, go to ProlineTV.com and hit the subscribe button. Or get a free play every day right to your cell phone by texting GAME, G-A-M-E, to 64600. And get my plays daily at JimFeist.com. And at checkout, use the code word Jim50 and get 50% off each purchase.
I ended up with just one high roller play on Sunday, and that ended up being the Chicago Bears. Took the points in that game. They lose by 6, but they were getting 7. Actually, should have won the game, but, you know, they won the way we keep score here in Las Vegas, so no problems there. Now, you can also get a free daily play from me by texting COKIN 64600. That's Cokin 64600. And check out our plays each day at JimFeist.com. Articles, videos, podcasts, along with fast facts. These are free stats from Jim's personal database. And when you purchase at checkout, use the code DAVE50, that's D-A-V-E 50, and get 50% off all my plays. Before we get to the games, let's look at this week's Proline poll question of the week, which is up every Monday on Twitter at Jim Feist Sports. And, you know, there's always overreaction to 1 week, so this is no different. But it does bring up great debate stuff, and here we go again. Is it time to hit the panic button after Week 1? Which NFL coach is on the hottest seat? Todd Bowles of the Jets, Chuck Pagano from the Colts, Marvin Lewis from the Bengals, Bill O'Brien from the Texans were the candidates we decided to list. Who won or lost, as the case may be?
Well, it turned out 5% picked Todd Bowles, 13 Bill O'Brien, 27 said Pagano, and the winner, or the big loser, of course, how you look at it, Marvin Lewis got 55% of the vote. Personally, I think Marvin, the fact that he has more of a nucleus there, he probably is the guy, but I don't think it's going to be him because O'Brien, with this stuff that he's been doing with the quarterbacks and pulling, he goes through the whole preseason, he picks one guy, and then at halftime, he did the same thing 2 years ago.
Yep.
And what this, you know, maybe he made a mistake. Maybe it should be the other guy. But what happens is it splits the clubhouse, the locker room. There's always dissension when you do stuff like that because, okay, I can't believe what the coach says anymore. Well, 3 years ago, he did the same thing with Hoyer and Mallett. Now he's doing the same thing again. This is a bad football coach. He should not be a head coach. Maybe he should be an offensive coordinator. Maybe that's what he should be. But he's been a quarterback killer. They're now calling him Captain Hook. Remember back in those days, that pirate show.
Sparky Anderson was Captain Hook in baseball for the Cincinnati Reds.
There you go.
He won a lot more.
Yeah, if you win,
more.
If you can win, you can get by with a lot of these faux pas. But this guy doesn't win either, and he's in a bad division.
He's got a bad team too.
He's got a bad
offense.
But their defense can be is solid.
Yeah, the defense is excellent.
Yeah.
Here's the problem, and it's where I think I find the most fault with O'Brien and why I put him first on this list. He runs a really complex offense. It's one of the most complex offensive playbooks in the league. Is that a good idea when your quarterbacks are Tom Savage, who basically was a third-string quarterback going into last year, and Deshaun Watson, who has no NFL experience, great deal of potential, but no NFL experience? To me, you run with those two quarterbacks, and the fact you've got a great defense, I don't understand why you want to run a complex offense. I would run a simplified offense that stresses game management. Don't turn the ball over. Grind out first downs and field goals. If we score touchdowns, that's great. But the Houston Texans are going to win with defense. It's as simple as that. They are not going to win with their offense because their offense is lousy. So to me, O'Brien, if what I gather is factual is true, and that's, I'm not a believer in alternative facts. I like being told what's going on and making my assessment on that. He's running the wrong type of offense for this football team. Marvin Lewis, I know, has got the awful playoff record, but the fact is at least he got to the playoffs several times. And there's nothing Marvin Lewis can do about the fact that they have a ridiculously awful offensive line. I think it's the worst. I actually think the Bengals' offensive line is the worst offensive line in the league.
That's
the worst. 32 out of 32.
We saw some really bad ones this week. I mean,
Well,
Seattle's offensive line, Giants' offensive line.
Seattle's got the problem at left tackle. When the guy got hurt, his replacement was absolutely terrible last week. But there's certain things they'll be able to do to compensate for that, and one of which is get Wilson on the move. Dalton, you saw a terrible case of the happy feet last week, which Andy Dalton gets when he gets pressured. He is not a quarterback who can do that well. Brady starts moving along like that, fine. Dalton, not fine. They're a bit of a train wreck right now. And so I think it's between those two. Todd Bowles, it's not his fault they've got what they've got.
No, he shouldn't be on the list because he has a terrible team, probably
and
the worst
Pagano,
team.
It's not his fault that Andrew Luck's not playing.
Pagano should have been let go a couple of years
Probably.
ago, in my opinion. And I think Marvin Lewis should have been let go a couple of years ago.
I don't disagree with any of that.
And what saved O'Brien was last year he came back and they got the playoffs and stuff. But the problem with changing anything, quarterbacks, coaches, offensive coordinators, et cetera, is where do you get the replacements from, and are they really any better? So it's always rolling the dice, and it costs the teams a lot of money because most of these guys get contracts that extend beyond the time they get canned. So you're paying this guy to sit at home.
Yeah, they got more money than they know what to do with anyway. So the bottom line is, if Houston has a bad game at Cincinnati on Thursday night, the heat is really going to be on O'Brien. And if the flip side happens, if Houston goes in and beats Cincinnati, it gets noisy for Marvin Lewis. They're the two hot seat front runners at this point.
Yeah, actually, if Marvin would lose this game on Thursday, I think
he could be out.
I think he would be out. So this
the
poll answer would be actually right if that happened.
Now, the interesting thing is, though, and this is the one thing we were talking about, everybody's got the money, so it's no big deal. With the Bengals, it is. They hate paying off dollars for jobs not being performed anymore. Bengals are a cheap outfit, okay? We want to thank everybody for participating in this week's poll question. Check out Twitter at Dave Cokin to see my daily comments and about sports in the Vegas sports wagering scene.
And you can participate every day with me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube.
And when we come back, we'll take a look at a pair of Week 2 showdowns. Patriots battling the Saints. Both teams are 0-1. Falcons taking on the Packers. Both teams are 1-0. NFC title game rematch. Okay, let's move to the NFC showdown between the Packers and the Falcons. These teams, familiar with one another, they met in Atlanta in January to decide the NFC Championship. Obviously, the Falcons came away with the win, 44-21. They were favored by a little less than a touchdown, -6 in that game. People might have forgotten they met twice last season because the Falcons also won in the middle of the regular season, Week 8, a thriller. One of the best games of the year, 33-32 at home as 3-point favorites. Do we see more of the same in terms of the shootout mentality that these two teams had with one another?
Well, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Atlanta, yes, they went to the Super Bowl and they demolished the Patriots for a half. And with any good coaching staff, they should have won that game. But they blew it.
Oh, boy, did they ever.
Totally blew it. One of the worst. I mean, if I'm the owner of that team, I'm probably canning everybody.
Well, I'm not. But they screwed up, but they still had a great season.
You and I are different. I'm up 28-3, and I have the best team on the field. I don't end up losing the game.
And look, they all they had to do was kick a field goal.
All they had to do was run the clock out. Well, they had a monster lead.
The Patriots were rolling back, but all they have to do is kick a
great running
field
backs.
goal, and it's rehashing old stuff. They blew the game.
The point, though, is because it goes back to that. We have a change at offensive coordinator for Atlanta. This is not the same guy who was brilliant in working with Ryan and company to create the highest scoring team in the NFL and dominate everybody with this offense. This is not the same guy. And this guy's in the NFL, and he doesn't look like he belongs in the NFL for what I saw last week. So this is a different guy, different play caller, different chemistry. That's huge. And you're going up against what I consider the best quarterback in football, in Aaron Rodgers. And they have double revenge off last year.
Better than Scott Tolzien?
It's close. It's real close. Oh boy. Oh, that's another.
That is another story. Well, we won't be seeing much of him anymore.
Starting this week.
Yeah, this is a good football game.
Yeah, this is a great. It's a great 5:30, 8:30 Eastern time game.
Look, I know this is a big deal was made about this last week, but it's not just a week one thing. The Super Bowl losers, betting against them early in the season has been enormously successful over the years, and it's already 1-0 this year because the Bears did get the money in that narrow loss to the Falcons. In fact, they should have won the game straight up.
Damn right.
You know, you had one pass would have been a really good catch. I believe it was the second down pass. Holy cow! I mean, you got to catch the football.
There were some unbelievable drops.
That was the drop of the week right there.
I mean, Glennon was very representative.
He did. Anyway, Freeman didn't run the ball well, and Green Bay looked good. I think Green Bay is a hungry football team. I think the Packers the personnel on that team kind of gets it, that their window is starting to lower. It's not closed yet, but they've only got maybe 1 or 2 years left with this crop of talent that they have, and they need to take advantage of it. And I think they know it.
One of the games they played at Atlanta last year, they lost twice. One of the games they had 3 wide receivers out in that game.
Yep.
This is a healthy Green Bay team. Grant, there is one thing that bothers me about this. And let me tell you what we're looking at right now. We're looking at 53.5, which is a reasonable number for 2 offensive powerhouses like this. The game was 3, but the 2.5s are showing up. And the 3 with the Green Bay side having a little bit more favoritism with that number. So even though Atlanta's got home field advantage, it's not fully showing up in the line because it should be solid 3, maybe even
New
favored.
Stadium. New stadium, too.
New stadium opening. That doesn't always work.
No, it doesn't. They're not as familiar with the surroundings. They played a little exhibition football there, and that's it.
This is a tough game, and I'm big on this offensive coordinator stuff. And I didn't like Sarkisian. Is that what his name is? I can't. The offensive coordinator. Yeah.
Sarkisian, the former Washington head football coach.
Right. I wasn't impressed. I thought he called a college game last week, and that's where he comes from, college. So this is a big drop-off in offensive coordinator, and I'm really big into offensive and defensive coordinators as much or more as head coaches. So because they have a direct influence on a lot of things, and very impactful. They're getting used to each other. This is a tough spot for him against a really good football team. Aaron Rodgers is coming to play. My
take on the game is, and I have not bet this game yet. I might. We'll have to see. But if I do, it's going to be Green Bay or nothing. I won't be on the Falcons. So take that for what it's worth. Now, Jeff Sadet might have a stronger opinion on this. Let's find out right now. Let's see what Las Vegas Sports Services thinks about this game. Jeff?
Can't call the side as this one may come down to the last play, but I have no problem pulling the trigger on the total. The game was indoors, featuring 2 of the best quarterbacks in history and loads of skill position talent on offense. They met twice last season with final scores of 33-32 and 45-21. And in the first meeting, Aaron Rodgers was without his top 3 targets. This Green Bay offense is even better this season with the addition of tight end Martellus Bennett. The secondary was second worst against the pass last season and faces an Atlanta team that was tops in scoring last year and looks just as potent. Both teams will score at least 30 points, so play the Packers and the Falcons to go over the total. Las Vegas Sports Services has a special this week, 7 days of service in all sports. That's plays every day for only $29, and that will include a $500 blockbuster release going this weekend on the gridiron. That's guaranteed, or the rest of September is free. Just call 866-546-9467. Back to you guys.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. When we come back, we'll have more NFL observations to run through to get you prepared for this weekend. All right, welcome back to Proline. Week 2 Sunday finds the Saints playing their home opener and the Patriots in a rare bounce-back mode after falling apart in the fourth quarter against the Chiefs to start the season. So a pair of winless teams. Well, I don't think it's, the Saints certainly, I don't think it's a surprise that they lost. The Patriots' loss was, I call it a bit of a shocker, considering that Tom Brady had never lost a lead that he'd taken into the fourth quarter.
Well, history changes everything.
Well, yeah.
Okay, so that was a shocker, and it led the season off with a shocker. They have injuries there, and Edelman being out, that's Tom's favorite receiver. That makes a difference. Edelman got hurt. Hightower got hurt. They have some issues there, injuries, etc. They have some new players that are going to help extend the field. However, to extend the field, you need more time behind your offensive line, so the short passes kind of disappear. So he needs protection from the offensive line in order to let the receivers go downfield. It's not the same kind of offense that he was running with Edelman being there, which is a possession receiver.
It's the Patriots. They'll tweak it.
Oh, they'll figure it out, and they've got a brilliant coach. This is an interesting game coming up because both these teams are 0-2, or could be 0-2. Which one is most likely to be 0-2? Well, the odds makers are telling you, before the game the other night, the Saints were a 4-point underdog. Now they're a 6-point or 7-point underdog.
I think that'll come back down a little bit. I expect that just on value, you're going to see some of the pros.
The value,
take New
but
Orleans.
not by performance. That offensive line for the Saints was not good the other night.
No, well, look, they had, but the
they were
flip side of
playing
it is, look, they
were
had-
playing a good defense.
They had 4 good drives. They just couldn't finish them off and ended up with field goals on all of them. But I don't think the Saints' problems are that dire, to tell you the truth, on the offensive side. And I think that Peyton will kind of figure out, the tough thing for him, what are they going to do with Adrian Peterson, who is now the 3rd best running back on the team? He's old. He's slowed down. He doesn't have the explosion. He doesn't have the yards after contact anymore. Kamal is the best running back on the team at this point. And I think what you're going to have to see from New Orleans, and I think you will see this moving forward, is that he becomes the main feature back. Ingram will be the guy who steps in for him. And AP, I think, is going to be seeing less and less time. Part of the reason is he can't catch the football coming out of the backfield. And they need that in their offense. The Saints' defense, I think the Saints' defense is vulnerable. When isn't it?
Well, it was horrible last year.
Yeah,
it hasn't
and
really
look,
changed that much.
Terrence Newman, look, I should be supporting the guy because, I'm old. And I should be supporting old football players. But I'm telling you something. He got Terrence Newman's had a hell of a career. He's 39 years old, and he looked 39, trying to cover some much faster wideouts in the Minnesota game. That cornerback spot's going to be a problem for the Saints. They're not a very good football team. Patriots should go in and win this football game. But even with the loss, you're still going to have to pay a premium if you want to bet New England, because they are still the New England Patriots. So to me, look, real quick, last year was a bit of a fluke. And any bookmaker in Las Vegas can tell you that. Any bookmaker across the country probably tell you that. It was such a chalky public year in the NFL.
It was.
That's not going to happen 2 years in a row. So I know that a lot of you watching right now are saying, well, hey, listen, I just bet the Patriots game after game after game last year and kept getting the money. That's not going to happen again this year. The odds makers did a good job compensating last year and forcing you to pay a premium to bet against Cleveland and to bet on the New England Patriots as examples, but it didn't matter because they kept getting there anyway. That stuff doesn't happen 2 years in a row.
You're right. And the Patriots bounced back from losses very well.
Yep.
I mean, Belichick, and they've had 10 days, just like the Chiefs. The Chiefs and the Patriots both had 10 days to prepare for their next game. And the scheduling thing is wrong. You got the other team that played Monday night, which means they have a short week playing against a team that 10. How do they do this stuff? I mean, the NFL is brain dead. I mean, they're losing ratings. I mean, I'm not getting into that. They're poorly managed. Yeah, they make a lot of money, but they're losing it, and they're losing their direction. It's crazy, some of the stuff, and the officiating was horrible.
Ooh,
so I mean, just
real good.
Absolutely brutal. So anyway, going back to this game, New England has more time to prepare. They have more time to tweak. This other team was on the road playing on Monday night. Patriots is home watching them and getting prepared for what they're going to do the following week. You know they're coming. Why is the game gone from what it was before? It was 4. Now it's key spots. Right now I'm looking at the number 7 in some spots. And that's a big line to lay on the road against a reasonably good team with a really good quarterback.
All right, let's get Jeff Saad's take on this game from Las Vegas Sports Services. Go ahead, Jeff. What do you got?
Thanks, guys. The Patriots come off a poor home game against Kansas City and are in bounce-back mode, but this team is dealing with too many injuries and defensive question marks already. The defense is the biggest concern with no pass rush and limited linebacker talent and depth. They played here in 2009 in a Breeze, Brady, Belichick, Peyton showdown, a New England team that also had defensive concerns, and lost 38-17. This is a home opener for the Saints, who are 13-5 against the spread as an underdog, while Coach Sean Payton is 34-21 ATS as a dog. I'll back the home dog, guys.
All right, Jim, NFL observation time. A few little notes we've got on paper here to talk about. And we'll start with the defenses being ahead of the offenses, which is not terribly surprising. That's usually the case in September. 10-5 under the total in week 1. Houston scored 7 points at home. The Jets actually got 12. No touchdowns, but, at least they moved the ball a little bit. Bengals got nothing. And you heard me comment about their offensive line earlier. The Colts scored 9, and 6 of those were quite late. And the 49ers and Giants, a whopping 3 points each. The Giants, to me, look, there's no surprise in Houston. There's no surprise in the Jets. I don't think there's a surprise in the Bengals. The Colts have a third-string quarterback out there. 49ers don't have much offense. The Giants scoring 3 is the one we need to talk about. Now, I know Beckham's out. You can't use that as an excuse to only get 3 points. They were terrible offensively. And the reason I mention this is that if you check around the Vegas books, one of their biggest Super Bowl liabilities this year is the Giants. There's a lot of money on the Giants, which I honestly, I don't understand. I think they're the third best team in the division.
Well, it depends on how you look at it. I mean, Dallas has lost a couple players in the offseason.
Dallas is still better than they are, and I like this Eagles team.
The Eagles look really good.
Where's the Giants' running game?
They don't have one.
And Eli Manning, Eli Manning regressed last year. He is a quarterback in decline. And if you look at the stats from game 1, you'll see like he was 29 for 38 or something. They were all like 4-yard passes. He had nothing downfield. I don't see this team as maybe a borderline playoff contender. I don't think they're nearly as good as anybody as a lot of other people seem to think they are.
Well, I think it's a tough call, and I hate to overreact too much off one game.
No, but this was my opinion before the season. So,
and the first game validated
Right.
that. So we'll have to see what happens when they get their full contingent of wide receivers back. Eli has been declining the last few years. McAdoo, head coach there, it's still a question mark how good he is.
he hasn't gotten an A+ right now.
No.
I can tell you that.
No. This is a a tough situation when you say the Giants got 3 points at Dallas. I mean, Dallas isn't known to have the greatest defense either.
No,
So, I mean, they should be able to move the ball. I mean,
they got Sean Lee as a phenomenal player.
oh, yeah,
But the strength of Dallas is the offensive line.
of course.
And the Giants' offense was not going against the Dallas offensive line.
Correct. I mean, you look at their games in the past. They were very close games. The Giants have been winning, I think, 4 of the last 5 or
Win
something
this
like
one,
that.
that's for sure.
And they weren't even close to this
No.
game. No. As far as these other teams, the 49ers, you don't expect much. The Colts, you can't expect much. I mean, the Colts, even with luck, they're not a good football. They're not a good football
can't
team.
stop the deep
and they got a
pass.
head coach that's terrible. The Jets, we know, probably the worst team in football. But the Colts now look like the worst team in football because, you know.
Actually, the Colts, I think they get the Jets next week, and I believe the Jets are projected as the favorite in the game. That tells you what.
That's pretty.
Now, the Texans is the other really interesting team, which we'll talk about for a minute, because as bad as things were last week, they got even worse. 5 guys go to concussion protocol. Cushing evidently texted Jay Glazer and said this is a bad one.
Whoa.
And all 3 of their tight ends ended up in concussion protocol. They've got trouble.
And they're playing Thursday night at a place where they got shut out at home. We're talking about the Bengals. I got some strong opinions on that game. But here's the situation, and those of you are not up to this. Collective bargaining agreement years ago said players could only wear pads so long, they can only hit each other so long, they can only have so many practice minutes, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's a BS agreement and I understand the reason, to lessen the chances of getting hurt in preseason and in practice time. The problem is when you get into the real games, like now and last week and now, it's going to take you 3-4 weeks to get to the point where you are actually up to speed, in condition, getting hit, playing at full speed, getting your plays down, being in sync. That's what, I'm not just saying that, I'm sort of echoing what Bill Belichick said a couple of years ago. Yep. And we all respect his ability when it comes to football. So the collective bargaining agreement has really nullified quite a bit. What they should do is either get rid of the preseason games, cut them in half, and increase practice time more to get these guys in shape, because the preseason games are really BS anyway. I mean, they got so many players, they're looking at this guy and that guy. You can look at them in practice better than you can in a game. So it's a bad situation.
Yeah, but they're not going to do that because that's revenue.
Well, they got to worry about revenue because their rating. Let's talk a little bit about this, if you don't mind. Their ratings are going down. Okay, one of the issues, and I'm not getting into politics here, but the not standing for the flag, the national anthem, is not a good thing. These guys, these football players are employees. And I own companies. I own a lot of companies. If my employees are embarrassing my team, I tell them, you've got to stop that or you're fired. I don't care how good you are. It doesn't matter. You either follow the rules, or if you're doing something detrimental to the team, the organization, you should be reprimanded. And that's a league-wide issue. You shouldn't be allowed to do that. Even if you want to do it, and do it outside, not on my time where I'm paying you. That's one. The officiating is absolutely horrible. Some of the calls last week, throwing Lane out of the game with Seattle, I mean, these things are ridiculous. Even replays obviously should be overturned or upheld, and they're not. They're losing fans because the quality they're putting on the field, and it goes back to the collective bargaining agreement as well. When you start game one, you should be prepared to play at your best. That means you got to practice more. You got to be in better shape. You got to get fine-tuned. They got to change it because the mighty will fall. Their ratings are going down, and you're talking about money. Ratings going down is money. That's big money because they can't charge the advertisers the same kind of money when their ratings are 20, 30% less than they were a year ago.
Yeah, look, I don't know. I'm not an expert on that stuff, so I kind of stay out of it. The only thing I can tell you is this: the NFL is the ultimate corporate venture, and I don't think we're living in a time frame where people are really thrilled with big corporations, and I think that ties into. And look, I mean, the fact is, ratings across the board for everything are down because there's a lot of other. Like, what do I need a TV for? I don't need a TV. I got this, and everybody's got these, and mine's not even that good. Okay, you can do more stuff on this. I don't think it's a bad thing that ratings are down. Maybe it means that people are getting out there and interacting with other people and having fun and doing stuff. Good. I don't know. I mean, for me, I'm in my mid-60s. It's perfect. I get to sit around and watch football games all weekend long. Not like I'm going to be snowboarding anyway. All right. So, I think with the younger audience, they're just not that interested in this stuff. They want to do other stuff. They want to get involved and do stuff themselves. Good for them. And so I think that all these other things, whether it's the guy standing for the national anthem or kneeling or whatever, officiating, I think it's all smokescreens for the fact that the game's just not as popular as it used to be. And they're using these as excuses to say, well, that's why our ratings are dropping. No, it's not. If you add them all together and then factor in the other stuff, then I think that's why your ratings are dropping. And they have to do something. They're going to have to do something about it.
Let me
in the next CBA.
Let me ask you this question: are the ratings down in NBA?
Yeah.
Are they down in
baseball?
Are they down in baseball?
Oh yeah, they suck. They're terrible.
They're down everywhere.
Yeah. People, they're down on regular TV shows. People don't. I can't speak for what. I don't know. The guys behind the camera and the young ladies behind the camera, they can tell. You ought to have them on to talk about why the ratings are down because they can tell you what they're doing. I don't know what they're doing. I'm not their age. I can tell you one thing. When I was their age, I sure as you know what wasn't sitting home in front of the TV. I wasn't. I'm going out and having fun, and I think that's what a lot of younger people are doing. And I think that's contributing to the fact that the demographics are pointed. The demographics indicate these sports are not doing well with the. It's not the millennials because the millennials are already adults. It's that whatever the next generation is called, the post-millennials. Okay, that's my 2 cents on it. If you want to listen to excuses, there's 9 million excuses out there, and they all sound good. I think they're all bullshit myself. Okay?
Well, somebody out there is getting the audience. Maybe it's not these sports, but someone out there is getting the audience.
No, okay. Well, I'll tell you. Look, we don't relate to this. The esports, it's phenomenal.
Okay.
Look,
does everybody out there know what esports is?
Well, but
explain
that's
it.
not my problem. I don't know what the hell they are. I don't know. I've never played them in my life. I'm never going to.
These are games.
Yeah, they're games.
Online games.
You can play. Why watch somebody else when you can play your own virtual game? The esports tournaments, phenomenal attendance, absolutely phenomenal attendance. And I'll guarantee you, when we get our new stadium here in Las Vegas in 2020 or 21, we'll end up having the esports championships at that new stadium, and they'll sell it out, and it'll get big numbers. It's just our generation has a lot of trouble realizing that the younger generation, 2 generations younger than us, don't have the same interests as we do, and we don't understand it. I don't have to understand it. I just understand that that's what it is. I don't have the same interest. I didn't have the same interest as my parents or my grandparents in particular, and the kids now don't have the same interests as we have, and that's good for them. They shouldn't.
Our interest has been, and we're both been around this game for a long time. Our interest and my interest, I think I speak for you as well, on the business side, is being able to be as good as I can be at what I do, whatever that is. In this world, it's picking winners against the point spread. I've done it for most of my life, and in public forum for almost 50 years, and I'm still damn good at it. And I collect more than I pay out. That's what my interest is on the business side. Being good at the business that I'm in, at what I do, at what I enjoy. Now, maybe that doesn't meld into what the younger or the 30s and the 40s and the 25s are doing. But that's fine. As a businessman, I want to go out and find out what it is I can invest in that they do like, that I can make a profit at.
Well, then don't invest in politics because they don't like the vote either. And you know what? Can't knock them on that one either. All right.
We can let's have a political show.
Yeah,
Boy,
really.
we'll turn some heads.
Okay, I think, what else do I have to do here? That's it. We've talked enough. So if you want free plays, everybody likes free plays. Doesn't matter how old you are on this one. This crosses the generations. If you want free plays from our team of Vegas experts on a recorded message, call the toll-free number. Do we even need to say toll-free anymore? I think that's kind of an archaic expression. The number is 888-294-1970.
Well, it is toll free. And
Yes, it is.
if you want to get free daily plays sent right to your cell phone, you can also text GAME, GAME, to 64600. That's 64600.
And you can also get a free daily text play from me by texting Cokin, C-O-K-I-N, 64600. That's it. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week with another edition of Proline. And just to show you I'm not that old, you don't have to get off my lawn.